original Xbox, I played that game, and I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, but that game is kind of more like, it's funny because Morrowind's considered very timeless. It's a lot of people get nostalgic when they hear the theme song for it and the gameplay, and it was a very basic game compared to nowadays. And then they had in 2006, I think Morrowinds was released in the early 2000s, so maybe 2002, 2003, and then in 2006 or 7, I can't exactly remember when, they had the Elder Scrolls Oblivion came out, and that was the fourth installment. And then that game was, overall, it was far superior than Morrowinds. It won a ton of awards. And then Skyrim came out in 2011, and people nowadays refuse to play Oblivion and Morrowind and acknowledge what great games they were because the graphics suck on them compared to Skyrim. And I'm like, oh yeah, Skyrim has got far superior graphics, and it's supported by a lot of people like the modding community for PC and stuff like that. They'll update the graphics, but when you're gonna say a game was I, at least my opinion, I thought Morrowinds and Oblivion was far better, well written as far as storyline than the Skyrim video game was. But people refuse to acknowledge that, refuse to play them, and say that they're terrible games because their graphics have not aged as well. And that's the thing with with CGI and computer graphics, they're going to get better as time goes on. I mean, sure, in a few years you won't be able to tell the difference sometimes on some movies.
Right.
It'll be like, oh, that looks real. And a lot of times, like especially when I'm sitting in a movie theater, I'm completely immersed in the movie. Like I know I was with Wonder Woman. Sometimes you can pick out a goofy mistake if some CGI looks like crap all of a sudden, but usually I don't even notice it. With all the explosions, the practical effects mixed with the CGI is a very good blend, just because you can't tell the difference sometimes. and
right.
that is where I'm sure for its time period that was very well done CGI, and if that's all you want to rip on a movie for is because the CGI was terrible. Well, I don't know. I won't finish that statement because I'm kind of a hypocrite. I complained a lot about that with the Lord of the Rings franchise.
Right.
I enjoyed the Lord of the Rings trilogy, whereas the Hobbit relied too much on CGI, and it just kind of took away some of the realism and the magic, if you will, that was so well done in the original Lord of the Rings movies, because they did a lot of practical effects mixed with CGI in those movies. And like I know in the Hobbit series, all of the enemy or the antagonist, it was all completely CGI. So I won't go as far as to say that, but I don't think that a movie should be basically just judged on maybe a few well, no, I will say that I will say you shouldn't judge a movie on CGI, because I even judged The Hobbit when it came out brand new, because you could tell it was CGI. Whereas, maybe back in the, back when that movie, the original Green Lantern movie came out, you probably really didn't notice it as much. I'm sure someone did if they were a tech wizard, some kind of, that was what a hobby of theirs. But I know I didn't notice, and it didn't bother me because I saw it in theaters, I remember, and I was completely immersed in the movie, and it just didn't bother me.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I like the Green Lantern movie. I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was a 2. But then you've also good. I mean, that would take you into like the Sherlock Holmes movies. I wish there was another there's Sherlock Holmes 2. I want there to be a 3.
Yeah.
But that's probably not going to happen until DC kind of winds down Iron Man, because Robert Downey Jr. is probably making a lot more doing Iron Man than he is, doing Sherlock Holmes.
Oh yeah.
But I was one that I really liked the Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was just. I feel like those movies. That was just a good role for him.
Yeah,
and he fit that kind of the kind of that witty kind of aristocratic humor that was what like all the original stories of Sherlock Holmes were trying to capture, and that was a perfect casting choice. But then again, I also think he was perfectly casted as Tony Stark. In Iron Man.
So much
because he like I can never read any comic about Iron Man without hearing Robert Downey Jr. in the back of my mind reading the lines in my head.
Oh yeah.
Because I just say that was a perfect embodiment of him. And I mean, it's funny because I have yet to really find that with Batman, because I have no problem with George Clooney excluded out of this, but I have no issue with the recent I won't include Adam West in this either, because that was kind of set to be like a kind of a campy, silly movie in a sense. At least that's what it comes off as nowadays. But as far as like Tim Burton and Christopher Nolan and I don't know, whoever did the Batman versus Superman with Ben Affleck, but I just don't see Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, or I mean, and I absolutely love Michael Keaton, but I'm sorry, buddy, I can't really see you guys as both Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Right.
I wonder who would be the perfect set for, and I guess maybe.
I don't know. I thought some of them did really good.
Oh no,
Like
and
Christian
that's
Bale did a pretty good. Other than
yeah.
the voice, Christian Bale
And that's
did
to
a really
say,
good job.
Christian Bale was and that's the thing is like I think Michael Keaton was an excellent Bruce Wayne character, but and I think he was limited again in his Batman for the technology of the time because a lot of that movie I believe was practical effects, whether it was a stunt man or whatever. I don't think there's a ton of CGI in that movie. I know there was obviously, I'm sure, but I feel like that movie was mostly done practical effects. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, but he was limited with his costume. He couldn't turn his neck, and that kind of makes him look like a dork. He's kind of doing like the whole body turn when he's trying to look to see something. And whereas Christian Bale didn't suffer, and Ben Affleck didn't suffer that same fate as far as it goes, as far
Who
as
was that?
kind of the head turn. Michael Keaton.
Oh yeah.
Where it was the whole solid like the shoulder and the cowl Batman wears. He couldn't turn his neck in that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of doing the whole gotta look my whole body over this way, but. I liked Michael Keaton a lot as Bruce Wayne. I think Christian Bale. I mean, and I don't mean to personally attack the guy, but he's kind of that arrogant, cocky. At least he comes off as that, and I think that's a good fit for Bruce Wayne as well because that's kind of what he wants to portray. But I don't know as far as Batman, like you said. Yeah, I thought the voice was kind of humorous at times and very laughable, but again, I mean, when I was in the theater watching those movies, I never had an issue. I was fully immersed by the time maybe 10 minutes into the movie.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is so cool. So I mean, I don't have an issue, but I guess I don't really know who I would pick for my top choice for Batman. But I guess we'll see. I mean, I thought Ben Affleck did a decent job as Batman.
Right.
And Bruce Wayne, but then again, I mean. We'll see. I mean, he'll obviously be making more appearances in the upcoming movies about it. But I wonder though, was there a reason why Christian Bale wasn't asked to reprise the roles just because it's different directors? I wonder.
Christian Bale didn't reprise a role because, and spoiler alert, in the end of the Dark Knight series.
Oh yeah.
Batman.
I gotcha.
Died,
yeah.
And Bruce Wayne died, and
yeah.
Bruce Wayne pretty much changed his name and ran off with
That's right.
Anne Hathaway, who was Catwoman.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And even then though, I mean, I'm kind of and I'm saying, he's not my favorite. I would love to see maybe, I mean, Michael Keaton, or I mean, hell, even the guy who does the voice for him in the comics, Kevin Conroy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see him being older, if not Batman, like an older Bruce Wayne, maybe training like a Terry McGinnis from Batman Beyond or something like that.
Right.
That would be interesting to me, I think.
Well, and that's why we were talking about it. I don't remember if it was you or who it was. I think it was Matthew. I talked about, DC is struggling with live action movies, and I said this is why they need to, start off and maybe do a Batman standalone movie based on the animated series, then move into a Batman and maybe a Superman standalone movie based on the animated series, and then they move into you see the trend that's going on here.
Yeah.
A Justice League movie casted the same way with kind of the same character, or the same personalities, and then from there you could move on to like a Batman Beyond, and use the same like an older version of the the first actor.
I almost say, I mean, this would probably cost a lot more than maybe pumping into a movie, but like assuming if they could like wipe the slate clean, or as DC would do, go to an alternative universe where they haven't had a bunch of live action movies come out, and maybe do. And I guess, like I said, this is probably not cost effective at all for Hollywood and movie making companies, but do like shows like Gotham and Flash, and some of that. Do like comics to kind of build the origin,
right?
Because those movies, I love the show Gotham because I'm a huge fan of I love the villains in movies. So I like seeing the development of the characters like Penguin, the Joker, and the Riddler, and just kind of seeing like whether or not they're getting developed or they're just doing a cameo, before they become, a super villain to Batman.
Right.
It's just that I found that very interesting because that kind of gives you a little bit of backstory and backdrop on these characters while at the same time you can see the trauma that Bruce Wayne as a child encountered with losing his parents and wanting to become become Batman and take on crime. But and then after you've had all these developments, whether or not you use the same actors from these TV shows, have them reprise their roles as obviously the villains, maybe keep them, and of course then you have your character for Bruce Wayne as an adult.
Right.
Unless you want Batman to be 12 years old, swinging around and beating up the Riddler or the Joker or something
And
like
then
that.
yelling Shazam, and he turns into Batman.
or Batman or John Cena.
Oh man, I really need a button. You could have said John Cena, and I would hit the button. Dun 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 dun.
John Cena.
Dun 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 dun. Okay, so it's funny that we're talking about the different characters and who defines the Justice League. Because so for those of you that don't know, I was talking about this. I couldn't find a shot glass that had the Green Lantern on it,
Mm-hmm.
but I found Batman and the Flash, and there was one that I really liked that I found, and it was like it had their logo, so it had like the Batman logo, and then it looked like it had like a whole bunch of little Batman logos pouring into the bottom.
Okay.
So I have two of those. I have one of the Batman, one of the Flash, and I really wanted one of the Green Lantern and couldn't find it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking online, and they don't make one. But I've never found like a full Justice League. Like I'm looking at one right now that's Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, and the Flash, but you're missing Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even just like the basic Justice League.
Right.
But yet Wonder Woman's on the package. So I don't know.
Dropping the balls down there, somewhere down there, as far as the manufacturer goes.
But no, anyway. So I think it would be cool to see John Cena, do something like this. Because all you know is John Cena. Dun 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 dun. Really need to get a button for that. But yeah, I don't know. It's when you get into to that kind of stuff, we've proved we can sit here and talk about that for a long time.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I think the best track is to start kind of go to a different universe.
Yeah.
Do a new Batman movie based
Yep.
it, but the key word is you base it on like the animated series. Like take the animated series, go back and watch it, and develop like a big storyline, or get kind of the feeling for what they were doing.
Right.
And take that Batman, cast that that Batman, and then make a movie. Do same thing with the Justice League. Take the Justice League, watch the series, make a movie.
And I think that's one
Because
thing.
to me, every episode of that felt like a movie because they were always two-parters.
Yeah. And I will say, as far as that goes, like that's why I liked at least the Christopher Nolan and the Michael Keaton series of
Right.
Batman, because they established in the first movie of their series what happened and how Batman came to be.
Right.
I mean, with the Christopher Nolan series, it was the with Christian Bale as Batman. I mean, the movie, the whole first maybe 40 minutes of the movie was him becoming Batman. Training up, to be the creature of the night to take out the villains of Gotham City.
Right.
And then they really didn't. It was referenced and stuff like that. But then again, they went and did the same thing again with Batman vs Superman. Whereas on the flip side, in was it the Dark Knight Rises with Heath Ledger portrayed the Joker?
I think so.
Because that movie was excellent because
That was the first one.
Oh no, was it Batman Begins? And then was it the Dark Knight Rises? No, it wasn't the Dark Knight Rises, but it was whichever one with the Heath Ledger playing the Joker in that movie. Whichever
great Joker.
The second one of that. That movie was great because with the Joker, I mean, granted he's not the central character by any means, but he's a central villain to Batman. He told two origin stories for himself in that story, and that's the great thing with a character like him, because Batman, it's obvious what his motivations and stuff are, but people keep demanding origin stories for like everyone in DC and Marvel and stuff, and it's like, okay, you can do that, but like people like the villains, the Joker, that's why I think it's cool with him, because it doesn't matter what his origins are, it just matters what he is and what his mission is, So it was whether it was the first story he told, what was it, where he had his wife was upset or something like that, and to make her laugh stuck a razor in his mouth, and the
Right.
other one, his dad cut his face up or something like that. It doesn't matter with something like that, but I get that your central characters, you want to reconstruct it, but I almost would say, yeah, if we